Hello folks, I'm David. I'm Lindsay. That's it. It's Desmonds, Donders.
Hello! We're in Glen Affric this weekend. We decided to run away from yellow and amber and whatever other warnings towards the west where the warnings did not exist. And here autumn is in full sway. As you can see behind me, the golden colours of the trees, there are birds about, and we're just about to take you to take a look at the loch and the beautiful mist and just the effects of it. It's lovely. Let's go see. That is the road that carries on to the car park at the forest of Glen Affric, which is the head of the glen, which goes on then up into the mountains. And this, while it's not Glen Affric per se, is a lovely part of the world. It's the glen that feeds down and the road that you use to get to Glen Affric. And this morning it is just wonderful. Apart from me talking, it is almost perfectly silent. Just the odd bird and the odd vehicle to break the sound of silence. Just coming into view. This is the road we came in on. Slight change of position to get the misty loch and trees. And that's the road in and out. And the trees we're surrounded by. Here, at the end of the public road, Glen Affric opens up and you are surrounded by the mountains. The Wildland is home to golden eagles, mountain hares and red deer. Autumn and winter are the best times to see deer when they come down from the hills to find shelter and feed on the bark and young saplings. Now, the areas of forest are fenced to keep deer out and to control their numbers so both trees and deer stay healthy. Often described as the most beautiful glen in Scotland, Glen Affric contains the third largest area of ancient Caledonian pinewoods in Scotland, as well as lochs, moorland and mountains. The area is a Caledonian Forest Reserve, a national scenic area and a national nature reserve, as well as holding several other conservation designations. Scots pine trees first colonised the area after the last ice age, 10 to 8,000 years ago. Currently, the oldest trees in the area are the gnarled granny pines that are the survivors of generations of felling. Although felling ceased many years ago, regrowth was hampered by unnaturally high populations of sheep and deer, and in the early 1950s the Forestry Commission found that very few of the remaining pines were less than 100 years old. Initially the Commission reforested the area with non-native species such as Sitka and lodgepole pine, as well as Scots pine from local seed stocks. Since the 80s, management priorities have changed and non-native conifers have been felled and removed from the glen, alongside the removal of other non-native species such as rhododendron. Glen Affric was part of the lands of Clan Chisum and Clan Fraser of Lovat from the 15th to the mid-19th centuries. By the early 15th century, Lord Lovat had passed the lands to his son Thomas, who in turn passed it on to his son William. Thomas Chisum, Laird of Strathglass, was imprisoned for being a Catholic, and by the 18th century the title deeds of Glen Affric had been the source of feuding, with the Battle of Glen Affric taking place in 1721. Most of the glen was bought by the Forestry Commission in 1951, and the glen is part of the Affric-Bewley hydroelectric scheme, constructed by the North of Scotland Hydroelectric Board. Loch Molladoc in the neighbouring Glen Clannach is also dammed. The Battle of Glen Affric took place in 1721. It was fought between two government-backed forces of the Clan Ross against rebel forces of the Clan Mackenzie and their allies, the Clan Macrae. In 1720, two members of the Clan Ross, William Ross, 6th of Easter Fern, ex-provost of Tain, and his brother Robert Ross, Baillie of Tain, had been appointed factors on the estates of Mackenzie of Seaforth, Chisum and Glenmorrison. The following year, in 1721, they went on an expedition to collect rents on these estates. The Rosses set off from Inverness with 30 armed men. picking up a further 50 armed men from the Bernera barracks. The Murchison family, being a set of the Clan Mackenzie, Colonel Donald Murchison was Mackenzie of Seaforth's factor, who had been collecting rents and sending to his master in France. While on their journey to Mackenzie of Seaforth's lands in Kintail, the Rosses were attended by just a small company of soldiers, met 300 men of the Clan Mackenzie and their allies, the Clan Macrae, in Glen Affric. The Mackenzies and Macraes were commanded by Colonel Donald Murchison of Ochtyre and Lochs, who had been sending the rents to Mackenzie of Seaforth in France, as we said. A skirmish took place between the two sides in which the Rosses were outnumbered. William Ross of Easter Fern was the first to be wounded by shots fired at him from his right. However, he continued to give orders to his troops to advance and clear the ground of lurking clansmen. They had some success in this respect and were able to proceed to a narrow gorge in Kintail which led into Loch Affric, where they were ambushed by Murchison's men. William Ross's son Walter Ross and his nephew William Ross were also wounded. Realising that further resistance was useless, William Ross met Colonel Murchison between the lines and discussion took place. The Rosses agreed to return home, promising never again to officiate as factors, and as a token of sincerity handed their commissions to Donald Murchison.
Hello and welcome to Chisum Bridge. We're still in Glen Affric, but this is the spot where the bridge crosses the river, and it's called Chisum Bridge because the clan Chisum used to own this entire area. A very long time ago. So it is Sunday the 5th of November, and again we have no wind, no rain, but it's slightly more overcast than it was yesterday. It's a bit chillier, but not by much. I think if I keep walking I'm not going to feel it as much. We have had the heating on this morning because, as you all know, Lindsay doesn't do cold. So sorry, I'm going to have to swap hands because I've got my walking stick with me. As I said, this is called Chisum Bridge. I came down here when we were here last year and there was a tent at the very point. Anybody that puts a tent up in this weather's off their heads. It's cold and it is very mucky and wet down here. But hey ho, as usual Lindsay got curious and thought, yeah, I'm going for another walk. There's no hurry for us to get back as such because I did the shopping on Friday. Most of the laundry's been done. I know, mundane boring things. So the only dirty laundry we've got is actually what we've worn this weekend, and that'll be easy sorted when we get back. But this is what David wanted, you know, a weekend where we didn't have to rush back, and it's certainly what we've had. It's been incredible, the weather that we've had, considering what was reported to happen, but hey, you know, we take our chances every time we leave the house. Weather-wise, you've got no guarantees of what's going to happen or not happen. It was like half a degree outside when we got up, and it was 6 degrees inside, so it was a bit nippy. Nice and warm in bed, but you can't stay in bed all day. And I just decided, yeah, it's about 1:30, that if I didn't get out for a walk, I wasn't going to do it. So, hence why I'm out. There's not been so much traffic today as there was yesterday. There was a camper came last night with graffiti all over their van. I would have loved to take a closer look, but I didn't. They've gone. Her body language was kind of like she didn't really want to be here. And they had a wood burner. So it's all good that people can actually stay warm in whatever manner they can find. Be it like us, we have the blown air heat system, which takes a hell of a lot out the batteries when it's going full tilt, and it also sounds like the van's going to take off, because it sounds like a rocket taking off, really loud. And we've got my little gas fire thing. So I'm not sure how far up here we'll get. I didn't get up very far the last time before I decided to go back. We'll see. There's still a lot of water coming off the hills. Right, I'm going to switch you off for a while.
Thank you for watching Desmonds Donders. And remember, please take nothing but memories and leave nothing but tracks. Please subscribe and ring the bell for notifications, and hopefully we'll see you next time.